It's Friday. It is almost time to get into it. Logic Pro User Guide with Eddie Gray. We are almost done with the hardest part of the voyage. I know this has been a particularly challenging part of the climb, but this is what it's all about, and this is what separates you from everyone else that does this work. I would encourage you to stay the course. Stay on top of things because we're about to cover creating fades in a very sophisticated way in Logic Pro. And once we cover that, we're going to go straight into MIDI transform. And if you're ready for transformation, then you better stay tuned. Let's go. Here we go. Let's go. Let's go. Hey, what's going on, guys? How we doing? Ready? Let's go. Let's get it. It's Friday. Please get ready. We're gonna get right back into it. Logic User Guide with Eddie Gray, brought to you by HF Music Academy. Let's go. All right. We've been on a tear, guys. Let's keep pushing the envelope. Let's keep going. We're going to bring some energy. If you're tired on this Friday, you know what we do next. Let's go! Let's go. Come on, man. All right, that's like my number one recommendation. You ever get tired? You just scream at the top of your lungs. I guarantee you, it'll revitalize, re-energize. I don't have a lot to say. I've had clients all morning, and so we just have to get into it. We need to learn how to cover fades at length. This is a whole new way of doing this. I'm not talking about the traditional tracks area, hover over the top left or uppermost right region and then just create a fade. I'm not talking about accessing the fade tool. I'm not talking about hitting the keyboard modifier Control Shift in order to bypass the cursor tool, the primary cursor tool, and choose the fade tool. I'm talking about an entirely new way of creating fades. I am ready. I hope you are. Let's go. So we're looking at adding fades rather. And so in order to really get that done, we have to go into the, let's see here, the audio file editor. And we're going to do this in a destructive manner so that you can destructively fade in or out an entire audio file or a selected area in the audio file editor. Okay, so we can fade in, fade out. That would be kind of the easy way of doing it. Let me bring you in here in order to show you what that looks like and feels like. Boom. Okay, so we're looking at Logic right now. And if I pull up this bass 808 thing, check it out. Are we doing this plugin thing again? Man, there's really not that many plugins on this. That's the surprising thing about this. Let's go. Okay, so we're listening, right? And I'm going to option double click. That's going to pull up the audio file editor. This is one way to do it, but I'll just go traditional and just double click and then go ahead and access the file editor there. So if for whatever reason I wanted to create a fade on this and have it be destructive, like maybe there's a obtrusive click right here somewhere on the left, what you would do is you would cover that area, and you might want to zoom in a little tighter, something like that. See how I created a selection? Notice I used my primary tool. I didn't use anything else. And so then you would go into function and you would fade in. Now that's like at the most basic level. You can see that the volume was reduced. Same goes for fade out. But that's not what I'm talking about here. Okay. If you use this function, you're basically fading in or fading out. And that's being determined by the selected area within the audio file. So you can see I created that selection. And that I feel like is fairly easy to comprehend, but there's something else that you really should know just in case. What if the normal behavior in the tracks area isn't cutting it? What if perhaps the secondary method that I just introduced you also wasn't cutting it? What else do we got? Well, We could also choose functions, fade in from the audio file editor, and that's the another way to do it, right? Just by way of key command. And then there's also to fade passages out automatically. Then you would go functions fade out, or you would choose Control O, so that you got the key commands as well. I want to show you this other function here. Let's read the tip. If you use the silence function, trim or silence audio files to remove unwanted background noise. Small jumps in volume can sometimes occur at the silence starts and endpoints. If this happens, zoom in and select a small surrounding area. Okay. So they're just giving you a quick tip about unwanted bumps in volume. But here, let's read here. In Logic Pro, choose functions settings from the audio file editor menu bar to open the function settings window. And this is where we get a little bit more information in regards to fades. So again, we're going to be in the audio file editor. We're going to go into function settings window. Function settings from the audio file editor. So let's pretend that I'm fading in something a bit deeper. Functions here. All right. And look at this. We have something else that we haven't really seen before. So it looks like we can determine the peak of the fade, how it curves. You see how we're kind of setting up a preset. Obviously, by nature, we're just getting the typical, I guess you would call this kind of X curve. And so there's a way to change that if need be. Maybe that's what your audio requires. So we are going to leave the peak at 100%. We can edit the curve to change the shape of the fade in or the fade out. Maybe you need it to look a little bit different. And so if you want maybe to capture a bit more of the audio signal, you would increase or decrease the curve and you would get more of that slope. Now, why are we even talking about this? Well, you got to remember, this is destructive. So we're literally writing this to the file itself. So if you have a corrupted file, something that pops, you're a sampler and you take really good care of your work, you want to make sure that everything is pristine. That's one way to do it. Let's see here. If you select the S curve, then this is going to kind of shape a little bit different. So if I go to this side here, we want to fade out. Normally, we would not get this interesting slope, right? It would look more like an X, like that, right? And it kind of bends there in the middle. So if you want that S curve, you can kind of get that going as well. Let me double click to change the numerical value there. So that's all pretty good. And the fade tool in the main window offers a flexible, non-destructive fade option. So if you're looking for something non-destructive, then of course you want to access the fade tool in the tracks area, or AKA main window. What if we wanted to reverse audio? What does that look like? What does that feel like? Well, and why you would want to do this, to be clear, let's say here, let me check you guys out. What's up? Happy Friday. Eddie Gray reading the Logic User Guide, page 510. We provide this information to all the realist people that need to learn Logic in their bones. They want to know all the aspects. They want to cover all the ground, all the nooks and crannies, so they can be the very best at what they do. All right, so why would you want to reverse something destructively? Well, let's say you find yourself always using reverse cymbal swells, and maybe you have a couple on deck, but you're looking specifically for like a cymbal swell that covers 4 bars or 2 bars. And maybe you've hacked it. You have a couple libraries, Rise and Hit. I don't know. You have something, but it doesn't quite match what you're looking for. For me, because I come from the world of music licensing, this would apply heavily, because sometimes we just need tools and we're not looking for like the perfect sound per se. Right? As an artist, maybe you spend a little bit more time searching for the right sounds. But when you're on a deadline, let's say you're doing a job, there's a budget, right? You don't want to spend 6 weeks looking for a certain kick sound or looking for a certain reverse cymbal swell. So then you would create destructive edits in order to start to archive your sounds. Like, yes, I have 1 bar reverse cymbal swell. I need that. I find myself using it more often than not. Same goes for a 2 bar reverse cymbal swell. You kind of see the theme here. You're expediting the work so that you're not having to get caught up in having to create something from scratch, which will take you 20 minutes. Whereas if you had spent 1 hour, once a year, you would have everything that you potentially need. All right, let's keep going here. The reverse command is most commonly used on an entire audio file. To reverse a cymbal sound, for example, this could be a piano. Voices are really big when it comes to music production. Hey, you could, clap, add a bunch of reverb, reverse that, the whole reverse reverb trick. I think the voice is really sweet. You could just do something as simple as, ooh, add a bunch of reverb, and then that'll sound so great coming in. A lot of people take the first phrase of a lyric. So let's say, you're writing a song and the first word is the. They'll take they'll add a bunch of reverb, long decay, about 12 seconds of decay, and then they would render that, reverse that, let that lead into the song. Very common tricks that individuals use in music production. For example, the reverb tail at the end of a file can be reversed. Yep, we know that. It could be copied, it could be pasted at the beginning of the file. The invert command is useful for correcting phase cancellation errors. So maybe you do reverse, but things sound a little wonky. You might want to use that invert command. Or when several out of tune signals or several signals processed through chorus effects are to be mixed down to mono. So I guess that can get kind of sticky too. I'm going to go ahead and highlight that. I think that's worth our time and attention. So right there, right, it's pretty technical stuff. Thank you, Logic. You can also use the invert function to decode mono stereo recordings, but it's easier to use the direction mixer for this task. Okay, so now you gave me something else that was technical, but you didn't feed the beginner, right? So that needs to be rectified right there. No ding necessary, but why don't we just put a little question mark? I should have this ready. Boom, boom. Aha. Okay. Yeah, it's like, okay, decode. What exactly are we talking about? What does that mean, right? All right. So if you want to reverse something, now remember this is happening inside the audio file editor. We're going to hit Control, we're going to hit Shift, we're going to hit R. Now the way to do that is to go into the local menu bar and selecting function reverse. Let's see what it looks like. Let's see what it feels like right now. So we're in here. And I guess I should let you hear the part, shouldn't we? I think so. Check this out. Boom, and preview. All right, cool. So you heard the part. Let's say for whatever reason I wanted to, reverse that. So again, function, reverse. We hit that. All of a sudden, here we go. It's turning, it's burning. Let's listen. That could be just a really cool, let me hit Command Z for that. That could be a really cool little transition as well. In fact, I should have kept that. Hold on. Shift Command Z redoes. You see how it has to kind of keep going back and forth? I think that's because we're in the audio file editor. So then what I'll do here is I'll render this now that it's been, see, where is this exactly in the context of the song, and how could I render just this piece? See, audio file, save right here, selection as, and we'll call this rev guitar. So one thing that I'm finding this is useful with, because I've been trying to rationalize why you would use some of these editors, especially if you have something as fluid as the audio track editor and then just the tracks area. I think honestly, it is most pertinent and relevant to individuals that are sample based and they don't have a third party editor, or they don't want one, and they just need kind of another way of editing these files. That to me seems the most logical. I have a lot of conversations with a lot of folks about why, we have certain things. And for me, I've come to the conclusion that there are old parts of the program and almost like traditional ways of handling certain actions. And so we've kept them, we've inherited behaviors, but sometimes they're just not even necessary anymore. just because of the the current state of things. But let me go ahead and play this and make sure that we're on track. Yeah, so I basically took this selection, I applied some processing, and then now theoretically we could hit Command Z and oh wait, I guess let me go back in there. We could undo what we just did, and then bring it back in to the session. If you remember a second ago, I went audio file, save the copy, and I did that whole thing. So that's one way to do it. But look at this, update file information. Let's say there was a clicker pop and you wanted to update that symbol that you always use, or that symbol swell that you always use. You can kind of, again, archive and update all your information if you wanted to. So then I've got this thing, this other file kind of in the background here. Let me go ahead and create another audio track. Option Command N. Don't need an input because I'm not recording anything. But what I do need is this other file, which we just recorded. And we're going to listen to this by itself. Let's check it out. Yeah. So I could take this part right here. Check it out. Which could be kind of cool. And then there's also something in the beginning here I can use. It's this right here. I'm creating a marquee selection, hitting spacebar. Yeah, I like that right there. And then I'm going to hit the left arrow key. I'm going to delete that. I'll hit the right arrow key twice, delete that. Now I have two transition, or we'll call them rev transitions. Okay. So then maybe the first I will put right there, and then this is just kind of like bells and whistles at this point. Hold Control Option, right? Create a selection. At this point, I could use the usual snap mode, but just by way of changing up the workflow, I'll access nudge by using the arrow keys. And so, part of why I want you to show up every week is because I want you to see the workflow. Right, so right now I was accessing division and nudge, and this isn't going to translate well, right? There's a lot of space from here to here. Now I could theoretically use ticks. You can see I've accessed ticks inside of the nudge value here. And if I hit Option right arrow key, I'll get there eventually. But this is a case where you might want to utilize snap and drag this over off the grid. Now, of course, there's another probably easier way of doing it. I go to bar 9. I'm going to hit / bar 9. I'll hit return. And then I will hit semicolon. And that will bring me... oh, wait. That brings the left part over here. What if I wanted just to bring this over here? Yeah, I guess then in that case, unless there's a better way to do it, which I'll think about it. But for now... the playhead is at bar 9. It's serving as my measure stick of how far I should go. I'll keep zooming in so I can refine my search. At this point, I may want to utilize nudge because I'm pretty close. I'm going to hit Command right arrow key. Oh, it looks like there's no more zoom level at this point. I've gotten down to the finest level. Is there no way of going closer? Come on now. Let's see. Yeah, there we go. That's interesting. At some point, you cannot utilize the zoom tool, the zooming key command. But if I use the keyboard modifier or the magnifying glass, I can zoom in pretty tight here. I just didn't even know that was a possibility. Okay, so then now I'm using ticks under nudge, and I'm hitting Option right arrow key. This might go all the way. Now, of course, we could just edit at this point, or we can just resize utilizing ticks. And lastly, I can click and hold, hit the keyboard modifier Control Shift, and then I am, hopefully back to business. Now we're getting really tight. Let me hit, let's see if I can pull this off. Boom. Oh, don't. Okay, so then that's too fine of an increment. So then let's see if we have another option, because I'm already off the grid and it's getting kind of tight here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go into the nudge value, and this time I'll start moving per valley here. Let's try 64th notes. I don't know if this is going to work or not, but we have to try it. Nope, that's way too much. Let's go into frame, or maybe even a millisecond. So let's go 5 frames. I doubt this will work. Yeah, it's too much. Let's go, yeah, maybe frame. Let's try it. Nope, way too much. Okay, let's go with 1 sample. This is too much. Oh, here we go. So you can kind of see where I am deriving my workflow, right? Just trying to find the best workflow possible. Ticks wasn't enough, which we would think normally would work in most cases. Let's see if samples would have been enough as well. See this? Yeah, samples is also a good unit of measurement when you start getting down to the finer points of editing. So in order to kind of reset my screen, you can see that I have some dead space right here. And so I'm going to click the background of the workspace to make sure that this is not in key focus. So notice that when I click on this audio region, it highlights. What exactly am I talking about? I'm talking about this border here turns yellow. Check this out. See that? And then, of course, the waveform itself becomes highlighted in nature. So I'll click the background of the workspace. I'll hit Z, and that right there will bring me back to the beginning. So let's listen to these transitions. I'm not saying they're going to sound great. I'm just explaining to you how you would use the audio file editor at work. Let's go ahead and press play, and I'll let it play out until bar 9. Here we go. Hey, that was pretty decent, huh? Especially like this one. Let me see how we can make it better. Yeah, it would sound really cool if perhaps we faded. All right, let's do a hard fade there. Let's see what that sounds like. Yeah, all right. And then on top of that, I will use the gain staging feature that we could utilize. Now, normally we would go in the region inspector for that, but I have a pretty cool tool. It's called what is it called by Speaker Food? Gain Control. I have to pull it up so you guys can check it out. So Gain Control is a beast of a application. It's not even inside of Logic per se. It essentially allows you to control the gain of any audio region. The only clause is that the region inspector has to be open. This is not in the Logic user guide, but one of my purposes here is to make your life significantly easier. And so what's really cool about this is you can set your key commands, and you can tell Logic, hey, when I hit the appropriate key commands, in my case, shift minus and shift equal sign, raise or lower the actual source sound, the gain, by 1 decibel, and the same goes for 3 decibels. And then, of course, you can just set to unity. I usually don't do that myself, so I just go up or down. But cool. So then I want this to be a little quieter, so I'm going to hit shift, and then I'll hit the minus sign here. And you can see that this might translate a little bit better in a mix. Why not go down on the volume knob? You could have done that too. But if I had plugins inserted, this change would affect the way that the flow would go through the audio treatment. In other words, that would affect the EQ a certain way, right? The volume of this signal would have affected the compressor a certain way, the saturator, et cetera, et cetera. But I don't have any plugins inserted, at least I didn't. And so I'll go ahead and hit Option Spacebar, my favorite key command in Logic, without a shadow of a doubt. And please remember, this is custom. This is something that I had to set up, stop or play from last position. I highly recommend it. If there's only one key command that you change today, this one is the ticket. Why? Because I no longer have to use a key command or hover my mouse to change the position of the playhead. I merely hit Option Spacebar, and that takes me to the last position in which I played the audio. Check it out. That sounds really nice. I would probably also pan this off to the left or right, and then, of course, maybe even create some movement, but this is okay for now. I guess maybe just one more thing, if I may, is I would just add some reverb, just to kind of color it up, let it blend in the back. Do I have some reverb? I don't even know if I have reverb here. Nope, I do not. So I'll just instantiate it on the channel. A lot of purists would say you would never put reverb on the actual channel. Like, what are you doing? To be honest, just feel like it. There's no right or wrong. My main intention here is to help creative people just feel free, uninhibited, not scared of the program. I know that sometimes it can be extremely intimidating, and to be committed. So let's listen to this reverb on the channel strip, and I'm just, it's wet, but just a little bit. Let's check it out. Yeah. That sounds like a bit like it's a part of the tapestry, if you will. I'll hit A to close the automation window. And then, all right, to all my purists and traditionalists, hey, if you don't think I should have it on the channel, that's, oops, I just erased it. Yeah. So then what I'll do is I'll bounce the channel strip with the audio. So I'll burn it into the file itself. Control B will do that, and I'll bounce everything. Now, normally, right, when you hear me teach and work and consult with all the various spaces where I do, I would say to include the audio tail, because this would naturally transition into the next part, right? This seems to be something that you would desire, and it is in most cases, but in the case of this, it's a hard cut. And so we do not want the audio tail of the reverb that I just instantiated. Otherwise, we're going to hear like 2, 3, 4, 5 seconds of reverb. I don't want that. So I'm going to hit OK. And then once I bounce this, you'll find that there's a nice hard cut, which will lend itself well. I could then delete the former plugin, and this will no longer suck up any resources that could be helping with mixing, with tracking, and things of that nature. Let's take a listen. Cool. That works. It's a keeper. All right, let's keep moving. We've talked about reversing, and then it talks about reversing the phase. So then, just in case, I don't know, the sound, flips and sounds a little strange, you can go to Functions, Invert from the audio file editor. This is really good for treating like phase cancellation, and that's a much bigger topic for another day. We have actually taught some of those classes. One of them was by Matt Thorne, who's a platinum producer, proven, amazing guy. He's actually my mentor. And, if you're looking for more information, check us out, hfmusicacademy.com. But for right now, what we would do is, again, go into Functions and Invert. So I want to show you what happens when we actually do this. I'm going to have to zoom in a little bit tighter for you to really see the value here. Okay. So we're looking at the waveform, left channel on top, right channel below. And so then when we go into function, invert, Shift Command I, look at the waveform, 1, 2, 3. All right. So then all of a sudden you'll see that it literally changed in terms of its positioning. So if I could, I guess, make a mark here. Let me do this. Okay. So pay attention to this specific point. I don't think I'll be able to maintain it because I have to cancel this feature. But if we keep looking at that point and then I invert, it now ends up somewhere else. Now it looks like the distance is being affected here. I don't think that's always going to happen, but you understand that it's changing the position of the audio, and that actually may sound better in some cases. When you ask, it depends. It depends on the material. How much chorus does it have? Are we doubling? How much low end is there? There's a lot of that kind of stuff. But if you ever have challenges with audio, never skip the step of checking the phase, because that might actually help quite a bit. So let's listen to this. That to me sounds pretty good, but just by way of example, it's invert. See if it sounds any different. Honestly, apples to apples, nothing sounded any different. I'm sure that will not change if I play it against everything. Yeah, that worked for me. So anyway, that's how you check inverting the phase. I like that it's visual. If I had one gripe with Logic, which I would love to change, and I really like this on Ableton and Pro Tools, that when you do create a fade and you perform it in the tracks area, we get zero feedback about what's actually occurring here. And that's not the greatest thing, because a lot of us need visual feedback. Of course, this is a very auditory job, requires the ears to be in check and requires the right mindset and such. But if you don't see the return, it's really hard to understand what you're doing. A lot of people are very intuitive, but some of us need visual feedback. So that's something that I definitely want to update. I'm excited about. But if you're looking for that visual feedback, I recommend you find it in the audio file editor, as discussed before. Like, let's say you legitimately wanted to create a fade from here to here. I'm not saying I want to do that, but if you did, you would go to Functions, Fade In, and that would be the fade that you're creating. Now remember, based on our experience earlier, you can dictate the fade by going into Function Settings, and that right here is going to change how your operations are maneuvered inside of the audio file editor. Now remember, there's more than just one function. It's going to affect more than one setting. At least I think it is. Something that we might want to check out a little bit later. But man, there is so much stuff in here. Look at this: search silence, search peak, adjust tempo by selection and locate. I mean, there's just so much stuff. It really is bananas. Let's keep going. Reverse, we did that. We did that. Page 511, Eddie Gray going over the Logic user guide. Let's go. We want to create loops from the audio file editor. Okay. Wow. Now we're talking about creating loops. Now this is not as simple as the infamous way of, grabbing something from the tracks area, whether it be a MIDI, whether it be an audio loop, whether it be a sample, whether it be one shot, whether it be a pattern loop, a drummer loop, whatever. It's not enough to just grab and drag it into the loop browser. This does, in fact, create loops, but you're subject to mistakes. You don't have as much control. For example, and you know what? We got to test this out because I want to give you some accurate information. So let's pretend that we're going to make a loop right now. And I'm just going to use an example that's not necessarily relevant. Like, I don't know if I would make a loop about this, but hold on, just take a listen. Actually, maybe I would make a loop on this, but hold on. That wasn't bad, man. All right, I surprised myself. All right, but let's just pretend for fun that I create an insane fade. So let's listen to this. In order to really pull this off, I want to give you something very concrete. Let me just hold on one more time. I don't know if I'm going to be able to hear that. How am I going to do this? I want to... Oh, I know. Even better. If I pan this, so now it's on the right channel. Take a listen. Okay. So then I'm going to grab this. I'm going to take it into the loop browser. I'm going to say write test, and I'm going to copy this because I'll delete this after. Write test. And of course you would insert all the metadata, but we're just, running a quick test here. And so then Logic's going to analyze this and utilize it inside of the loop browser. So I'll hit the X to reset my search, Command V to pull up write test. Let's listen to this. So you can see that it actually contained the information, right? It was in fact panned on the right hand side. If we were to do that one more time, let's listen to this. Okay, and then this time what I'll do is I'll create a band pass. And so I just want you to see that it's considering all information. Listen to this. Okay, so it sounds really small. So let's do that again, but we'll call this write test 1. All right, Logic is bouncing this, ingesting it into the system. Here we go. Write test 1. and in fact, it did consider it. So when you're making these changes, it's considering all of the changes. And so, what is the difference between doing that, and I'll show you how to delete these in a second here, and doing it inside of the audio file editor? That these are non-destructive. The actual file still doesn't have, a printed a band pass that we're using here, or I think we panned one of them, right? It's not real, so to speak. It's only real, becomes real inside of the audio file editor, and that's the main difference. Let me show you how to delete those files if you ever get yourself to a point where you have to delete stuff. If I were you, I would save all of the menus that you will have to access the most often. I find myself having to look through these all the time. So guess what? Rather than having to search every single time, it's all done. And so we're going to look at Apple Loops, user loops, and as you may have remembered, it was called, was it Rev? Was it Test? I forgot already. Hold on. Right. Let's find it. Okay, you see these two? Hold on. See these two? All right, I'm going to control click it, and I'm going to move to trash. It's interesting because they look like audio files, but when we go over here, they look like audio loops. And it's interesting also because sometimes you'll have a MIDI loop like ride cymbal solo. I don't even know if this is one of mine, but the point is you'll ride cymbal 1, for example. Here it is right here. It'll look like a MIDI file, but it'll actually be an audio file. So just beware of that. So then now I've gotten rid of those 2 loops, which if we go back into the loop browser, they're still there, but look at what's occurred. They're now dimmed out entirely. And so what that tells me is that Logic is not reading them. Oh, it's not reading them because I deleted them. And so if I deleted them, then the right thing to do is to go into the loop packs at the top of the screen here. And then you want to hit the up and down arrow menu. And finally, after that, you want to re-index all of your loops. Now, once you re-index all of your loops, what's going to happen is that Logic is going to kind of get everything back to normal, scan through all the user loops and such. I guess one more thing before we continue is the loops themselves will only change if it's a user loop. If I try and delete a default Logic stock loop, something that it comes with, it will not allow me to do this. At least last I checked. So I just want to be clear about that process, okay? All right, my good friends. Once this indexes and shows up again, I want to show you what it looks like. And then we're going to take a quick word from our sponsors. I hope you're well out there. Happy Friday. Just a reminder to put all of the important stuff in your life first. If you're watching us, I ask you to consider subbing. Turns out that most of the people that watch us are not even subbed, which is kind of a strange thing. But yeah, thank you so much for the support and the love. It really means the world to us to be able to just give this incredible information. It's not just the stuff on the user guide. It really isn't. I mean, like what I just went through, you're not going to find that information in the user guide. That's just life experience, life stuff. You got to remember, I've taught so many different people. I've taught doctors. I've taught, kids that, ride the bus to school. I've taught derelicts. Just kidding. But yeah, I mean, I've been through a lot of different case scenarios, and I've seen a lot, and I just want to give you that information because I really want you to grow. I want you to progress, and I want to hear the stories. I keep talking about the stories, but isn't that how it happens, right? You get a new piece of information, a new piece of software called Logic Pro, and you start making music, and maybe you collaborate with somebody, and then you guys go viral, right? Isn't that how it occurs? It's like one story, one fortunate event after another. This is how these things occur. And so I'm waiting for my stories. But yeah, stay up, stay happy. It's Friday, and appreciate you guys subbing. Just waiting here for these loops to index to be continued. But yep, this is what we're doing. I do want to cover MIDI Transform. That's the plan. And if you don't know about MIDI Transform, I highly suggest you stay tuned because if you're a hacker, a programmer in Logic, and what I mean by that is somebody that You don't necessarily play guitar, but you don't necessarily play bass. Maybe you don't even play the keyboard, but your music sounds amazing and you're very musically minded and you want to learn how to bring those ideas to life, then you certainly need to stay tuned, because the tricks inside of MIDI Transform are irreplaceable. It doesn't matter how much you learn. These things are automated features that just occur naturally. Okay, and just another thing that's occurring naturally here is that the Loop browser has now been indexed, as you can see. Do you remember that I deleted the certain files from the Loop browser? So when I try and look for them, guess what? Nobody's home, because I re-indexed or reorganized all of my loops. Okay. All right. We're going to take a quick word from our sponsors. When we get back, we have to cover MIDI Transform and a couple things. It's going to be a great session today, guys. Stay up, stay happy. I'll see you in a couple minutes. Here we go. Okay, happy Friday. Eddie Gray. We're going over the Logic user guide. Man, it's been weeks. We've been on this for a while. When it's all said and done, I don't want you to think like, oh, yeah, cool. You read the whole Logic user guide. Great job. Thank you for showing me all the Logic. I don't even care about that. I'm interested in the people that see the dedication, that see the level of commitment, that witness the ups and the downs, right? Every time you watch a video on YouTube or Insta, any one of those platforms, everybody's like, hey, look, this is how great I am, right? This is exactly what they're trying to show you, like their best face. But that is simply not the reality of what we do here as producers, beat makers, composers, songwriters. All right, so let's just get that out of the way. It usually doesn't look like a polished video. It usually comes in the form of grit, hard work, and dedication day in and day out. Those are the only people that I've ever seen make significant progress in the music industry. My name's Eddie Gray. I'm a composer, producer, educator out in LA, and I am on a quest to really help people make a significant amount of progress. I want you to look back on 2021, right? Come December, come November. And I want you to realize that this was a monumental year for you. And in order to get there, it starts today, one step, literally. I know that seems like some cliche or some kind of, weird sentence, but it really does begin with a simple action. I'm going to commit to watching this entire series. I'm going to commit to checking out this guy's content. I'm going to commit to subscribing. I'm going to commit to sharing, right? I've been here day in and day out, committed to you, because I'm not here for me. Believe me, this doesn't necessarily help me in the grand scheme of things. This is something that we can do to help, and that's why we want to do it. Stop always thinking about yourself, please. All right? If you want to succeed, the best piece of advice is serve, give, and eventually you'll find your path, your lane, right? Your empire. So let's keep going here. So much more to cover. And I'm feeling great, and I want to make sure that we cover as much as we can. So we talked about creating loops in the audio track editor, but not necessarily in the audio file editor. So it looks a little bit different. It's a lot more precise. And again, if you're a beat maker, if you're somebody that is really into samples, maybe you want to record your own samples, like the sound of lakes, the sound of birds or whatever, then you would do that inside of here if you're looking for a precise editor. All right. And this is, again, mostly if you do not have a third-party editor to begin with. So it says here the audio file editor loop commands available from the edit menu are ideal to use with sampler. All right, cool. So what they're saying is, hey, you want to create your own loops? You can. You can also use these functions to generate audio files that contain the loop settings in the file header. This allows you to make full use of these files in any app that can read the loop information in the file header. So we're going to go into Logic. We're going to choose one of these commands from the edit menu. Where they're going to choose sample loop selection. All right. And this is going to, defined by the loop start and endpoint. So it's going to define a loop used to select a portion of the overall audio file, or the selected area is used to set the loop start and endpoint. Okay. And then we're going to choose edit write sample loop to audio file. The new loop values are written to the file header. All right. Let's give it a go. So I guess in the case, so we do with this. You know what? Let's do it with this one. So I'm going to double click on this. We're in the audio, not track editor, but the audio file editor, which is kind of gray and dimmed out. That's the difference, right? This right here signifies the tracks area, and this is kind of its own unique sampler. And so then what we're going to do is we're going to take this selection right here. You know what's fascinating about this too? It's showing you that, hey, this is a part of a much bigger file. So it's really interesting how that works, huh? Like it's giving you the defined kind of point. And in fact, let's see, can I resize this? Yeah, I should be able to somewhere down here. Wait. At the very bottom, I'll find out how to navigate this, but you can see that the region starts, oh, here it is. See, it starts right here. And so you can actually change the position of that. I have to show you this in tandem. Why are we taking the time to do this? Because I need you to problem solve when you're kind of on your own, doing your own thing. So if this is the region, we can extend it out here if you wanted to, right? You see how I'm editing what is showing in the audio file editor, but it's still here theoretically, right? Okay, so then let's say we go back to that, and then we want to create just like a simple, maybe a loop from here to, let me hear what that sounds like. Yeah, I dig it. I'm going to hold shift and increase that selection. Let's go, I don't know, this may be too long, but let's check it out. I'm going to reduce the volume as well by using that volume slider there. Yeah, that's a little long. So again, I'll hold shift and then I will retract, get a smaller selection going. Okay. And then going back to edit, we're going to hit selection sample loop. What does this do? So we just hit the command. I'm not seeing any different behavior. Didn't see anything in the editor. Nothing has changed. So what was that all about? Write sample loop to audio file. Functions, or I'm sorry, edit, write sample loop to audio file. I wonder if it's burning it on this file right here. So let's listen. Let's see if it sounds any different. Sounds exactly the same. That's still panned, isn't it? You guys see how it's panned right here on the channel strip? If I hold option, I can reset that value. Of course, you could have done it the other way, right? You could just like go all the way up. But sometimes what happens is you do that, it's like, oh, wait, am I on 0? No. And you have to kind of keep adjusting. The easiest way is just option click and we're good to go. So yeah, not exactly sure what was supposed to happen there. This is kind of one of the main things that I am aspiring to do, is make all of these functions as easy as possible. like, A, B, C. I know exactly what happened as a result. I think that all logic users deserve it, and I don't think there's any more room for ambiguity, right? It should be very clear. I know what this does. I know what this does. I know what, and of course, there's like the beginner, easy version of logic or whatever program you're using, and then there's the kind of intense, detailed version. But still, these things should be fairly clear, right? If I'm going to change the gain, what are the rules? What do I have to do? Oh, create a selection, go to function, right? That's how the audio file editor works. Something has to be on, and then something is created. So if I create a selection and I go to edits and I go to selection sample loop, right? Nothing, it doesn't seem like anything happened. I don't see any visual information. And then if I go to edit again, right sample loop, right? It's like, it's not clear. It's not going to work. So all of this needs to be updated for sure. Undo, you can undo, right? Command Z, all this good stuff. You can cancel a destructive edit that is in progress by hitting Command period. This is actually kind of a gem of logic that not a lot of people know. When you're bouncing a file and it takes like 100 years because you have a bunch of processing and plugins, I'm going to show you a way by hitting Command period where you can actually interrupt a bounce. Okay, so I'm going to start bouncing something right now, and then midway I'm going to hit Command period. So we're bouncing right now as we speak. We'll call it test, right? And then Command period literally stops it in its tracks. You see that? I'll do that one more time. So, by the way, it's not just for a bounce, or an external bounce. Or a project bounce. It's also for just an internal bounce. If I Control B and it's going to take 100 years to do something, then I could just interrupt that bounce. And lastly, it's also for freezing. You ever freeze stuff because your computer's slow? If I hit spacebar right now, everything is going to be bounced down to freeze files. But again, if I hit Command period, maybe you're like, oh, geez, I just forgot how to, I just forgot to freeze this one, or I'm not supposed to freeze the 808. Command period literally interrupts that bounce right there, just like that. So yeah, go ahead and write that one down. That's a good one. And backing up audio files. Okay, so please be useful here. Please give me something. Page 511, Eddie Gray, reading the Logic User Guide. Although the undo history and standard undo functions they're available, try to get in the habit of creating backups before you are processing or editing. This provides a safety copy of your audio recordings in case something unexpected happens. I mean, the whole idea of there being this destructive editing to me is like, why are we even doing this? I'm still trying to, this should be an entirely separate editor. Because if you're a beginner, right? Say you get started yesterday. And you're like, oh, this looks cool. And, oh, file. Okay, what do I do here? And you're like, okay, this is creating something. And then you go up here and then you revert destructively, right? And theoretically, if it's destructive, it's happening to every audio file that pertains to that specific audio file. I don't know. It just seems too serious. So, I'm vouching that this becomes a kind of separate editor altogether. But here, let's learn how to back up stuff. Choose audio file, create backup. Okay. And then it's also Control B. So let's go audio file for this guitar right here. Oh, current track is frozen. I'm going to go ahead and unfreeze all of these. Let's just go like this, click and drag and slide down. You could do the same for mute. Click, slide down. You could do the same for solo as well. Okay, so we want to create a backup of this guitar. Or you know what? Why don't I kind of stay in line with this guy, the ending. Do you remember this guy? Okay, so we go audio file. Save. Was it save a copy as? Pretty sure it was. Where was it? Create backup. So choose audio file, create backup, audio file, create backup. Let's go. It says, hey, do you want to create a backup? A duplicate of the file will be stored in the same location as the original file. The duplicate file is identified by the period, DUP period extension. All right, cool. I will take on this challenge. Let's go. Create. So theoretically, we don't see anything new, but Let me show you guys something called the proximity icon. Thank you for watching. For those of you that are on, I'm telling you, this stuff is gold. You're not going to find it anywhere else. You're going to hold command right now, okay? Hit that proximity icon at the very top of your screen. Why is this useful, Eddie? Because you can go ahead and search on another desktop or go through the clunky, command T kind of, you have to go to another screen. All right, let me look for this. Wait, where's my file? And go through the whole operating system and their tactics and strategies. But how much cleaner is it to just hold command, hit the proximity icon that I'm just showing you, and then find your file right here in front of you. All right, so I'm going to double click on that. And then it states here that you'll find a duplicate. Okay, well, I'm assuming I should find it inside of my audio files. Do you remember we were freezing the tracks a couple of seconds ago? Those could be found here if they've remained frozen. They're not. Audio files here. All right, and I'm looking for a specific file. I forgot it was like a DPL or whatever it was. So I'm just going to go over here to the right-hand side on this tab, and I'll hit kind. It's going to organize everything for me so I don't have to search for it. But, oh no, I do not see it. So this is what I'm talking about when things are not clear. Why is this not an easy concept? Not understanding why it just doesn't. Yeah. So the last thing I guess is you would look for it in the project bin, but no promises, my good friend. Key Command F, right? I'm going to click on this guy. This one's called Super Fuzz. Why don't I go ahead and adjust the column up here, the one that says name. No. I'm not trying to move it. I want to extend it. Is it letting me? Kind of. All right, so here's this one, and I'm looking for a DPL file or something like that. If it's here, this is way too complicated. We got to keep it simple, guys. Got to keep it simple. Yeah, I guess we're going to have files. Wait. This is a bug. Yeah. It's not working. It's not clean. If it's not clean, why are we doing it, right? We're just wasting time. I can't imagine a lot of people are going to use a lot of these features. I just can't. I don't see the majority of users spending their time trying to look for all this stuff, especially if you're new. I'm not saying, you've been in the game for 10 years or something. That's different. But, geez, you just start out. Where is this stuff, right? It doesn't even tell you, where it is. Like, for example, a copy of the audio file is created in the same folder as the source file. Well, do you mean the file that's on the session itself, or literally the for example, this is a guitar, and I recorded this guitar in this session, so theoretically it should exist in the audio files, but we don't see a what was it again? A D. What was that thing called? Yeah, we don't see the duplicate DPL file. Okay, look, I'm looking. Oh, boom, there it is right there. Let's go. Let's listen to it. Oh, okay. So it's a duplicate, but we can't play it back. Let's drag it in. Can't drag it in. Okay. So what is this exactly? It's just some, a duplicate that doesn't play. I can't drag it into the tracks area. Can't drag it into the project bin. Anyway, I need some more information. What do we do here? Okay, I understand that it's a copy, but what does it do? Do I get anything else? Wow, no. Revert to a backup file. Let me see. It says here, if you want to revert to a backup file, choose audio file, revert to backup. This completely replaces the current audio file with the backup, provided one exists. Oh, man, that is strange, isn't it? So what they're saying is we take this file. Let me revert to backup. And then you go back into the session. Paste audio data, backup file created February 20. Is that today? February 26th at 4:13. I suppose so. Was it 4:13? Because it's 4:18 right now in Cali. You serious? Let's do paste and let's see what happens. So we theoretically are replacing this. I think it's with this file, this DPL file that we just created, but geez, at this point, I'm not sure. This is why we're going to have Mr. Edgar Rothermick recreate this for us. We're voting in Edgar Rothermick to create the new Logic user manual. If you agree, say hey, hey. All right, so let's check this out. So yeah, I guess it did it. I'm not exactly sure. I don't see anything different, right? Just because I performed that action doesn't mean anything happened. I mean, if you've been watching this long enough, you know that there's some stuff that simply just doesn't work anymore, or at least works as suggested. So yeah, I'll try again. And before I even do, hold on real quick. I just want to make sure we're looking at the file. So like theoretically, just for fun, I'm going to rename this T, and we'll name this test. And then what I'll do is again go back in here and say, hey, I want to revert back. Right, we know the region's called test, so I want to revert to backup, please. We're saying, yup, that one right there. Oops, right? Doesn't really look like anything got updated. I mean, shouldn't it update the region name as well? I don't know. We don't have enough information. But anyway, that's there for you. If you want to save a copy of the backup somewhere else, you can do that. Yeah, I'm just simply not as interested because I need some concrete information that what I'm doing is working, and it's another solution to a potential problem that can exist. If not now, then maybe later. So anyway, for now, let's go ahead and find an external sample editor. This is how I rock and roll with this. I just think it works the best. So we're going to go to preferences. We're going to go to audio file editor. So let's go ahead and get there. Command, comma, preferences, audio. If we go to the far right, we can see the file editor. And what this allows us to do is to select an external sample editor. Sorry about that. I thought that wasn't going to do that. Okay, external sample editor. Okay, and you can see that I have iZotope RX7. I actually just got a new one I updated. So I'm going to click on this again, and then you'll see that the application window pops up. I'm going to hit, let's see, is it under iZotope RX8? All right, I'll hit return. And then now every time I need to sample something third party, I will give you a quick demo just so you see what it looks like. I do this with vocals a lot. It's just super clean. You'll see the workflow in a second here. So I'm going to use an external editor to work on the audio now. So again, what I'm professing is that this is what people are trying to do in here, but I'd either need a major update, or we just need to get rid of it and use external sample editors. But yeah, I mean, I guess I understand. We all just need a place to start. So maybe it just needs a nice update, nice polish. So how do we do this? So let's say that I've got this guitar part here. Take a listen. Okay, cool. So then at this point, I'm like, yeah, I don't know. There's too many clicks on this guitar, or we'll find something to edit. This is not the perfect example in that regard. Yeah, let's just kind of roll with it if you don't mind. So I'm going to click on this guy right here. It's in key focus, right? And so then what I'm going to tell Logic is, hey, I would like to edit. Wait, where's the external editor? Logic Pro. I haven't. Where is it? Nope, not that one. Where is it? This doesn't. Hold on. Doesn't seem right. We go here. Audio file editor. Boom. Edit. Open in. Thank you. Edit. I don't see open in. Looks a little different now. I wonder why. All right, let me go to the help tag, external sample editor. I think that's going to show me the same thing that's in the user guide. What's up? Why is this happening? Should be in here. Share, save a copy, open recent. Something's up. I don't know if that's because I just changed it to. See, this is. I usually thought it was right there. Hold on. Troubleshooting time. You'll get used to it. So let's see. Click file editor. Yup, I did that. Open up. So the key command is Shift W, but I'm just trying to find it in the menu bar. I know I've seen it. Edit, open in. Okay, let's just do Shift W if I don't find it in a quick second here. So I'm going to click on that. Edit. Look. Come on, guys. Okay, come on. If you're here with me, you saw that. Nothing changed. I merely maybe spent a little bit more time with searching through it. I don't know if Logic was even looking for it, but boom, it just popped up. Please rewind it. It said a second ago, just open Smart Tempo Editor, and that's it. And so then now we have the iZotope RX-8 audio editor, right? So that's pretty cool. So I'll hit Shift W, and then what's going to happen off screen is that it starts to load, and let me just make sure we're looking at the same thing. Yes. Okay, cool. So, yep, let's share. No, I don't want the original. So right now we're looking at this. Very cool. And all right, so then now we're looking at the same part, believe it or not. So let me kind of open up the screens a little bit here. Boom. Okay, so this screen has Logic open, and this is in key focus right here. And this is the information that we're focusing on in this specific editor. So this is iZotope RX-8, and I think maybe you're getting a sense of like why I like to use a third-party editor, because it's a lot more detailed and just really easy to understand. For example, let's say that I don't want to do something simple like gain, but let's say there was a lot of clicks and pops. It looks like this thing's scanning plugins, so we'll give it a second here. But let's say there was a lot of clicks and pops. I know that happens to a lot of us, especially when we're new. We record something, there's a lot of like clipping and things of that nature. So here's the entire file. Let's take a quick listen to it. I don't know if I have the audio set to Zoom. I don't think I do, so let's just do that right now. Zoom audio device. If you're not recording anything, you might want to turn off your input device. It doesn't look like it's letting me, so I'm just going to choose just standard. And yeah, I think this is a lot of power for my computer with all this streaming. Let me turn some stuff off here. Boom. Oh, yeah, I see that iZotope is not responding. If it doesn't work in 1 minute, I'll pull it back up. But here's the deal. It's a very clear editor, and Logic was made for sequencing, for recording. Those are its strengths. That's why it was developed. But when you look at, yeah, I'm going to go ahead and start this over, guys. When you look at, something like RX-8, it was designed, the entire design, Shift W brings me back to the external editor. The entire design is meant for editing. So of course it's going to perform differently, right? Of course it's going to have a better user experience overall. Okay, let this load. Let's see if we can get it to work. If it doesn't, I will tell you what, I'll make a video on it a little later, next week or something, and at least you can kind of see that workflow. I'm actually about due in terms of creating some more content. If you're liking the content, go ahead and sub, my good friends. Appreciate you guys being here. Happy Friday. Yeah, just stay up, stay happy. That's the main thing. You guys were so blessed to be able to work on Logic. It really is an honor to be able to work on this program day in and day out. But yeah, it looks like it's wigging out here. So I'm just going to keep moving, right? Don't let anything hold you back. Just keep moving the ball forward. And I give you guys my word that I will go ahead and take care of a video where I'm going through that workflow. But really, it's quite simple. I create a selection, and then I hit one of these parameters like a declip, or let's see if you have any plosives. If you don't know what a plosive is, it sounds like this, right? It has this kind of like really deep bassy sound. A lot of singers get it, especially if they're singing really close to the mic. There's a lot of processes that are specifically designed for audio engineering, right? And so, like probably my favorite of the bunch is Music Rebalance right here on the right-hand side. It's absolutely wicked because what ends up happening is you can change the balance of, like the bass and the drums and the vocals. So if you're trying to just do a quick hack, you guys know I'm in music licensing. And so, oh, there it is. Did it pop? All right, cool. I just needed to talk longer. There you go. So yeah, let me just show you a quick demo. But to finish what I was saying, Music Rebalance allows me to take out the vocals from something or bring up the vocals. It's really amazing. But here, let's press play. What? What a tease, right? Okay, RX, I'm going to give you 5, 4, 3, 2, and 1. All right, we're out. We got to go because I can't just waste my time waiting for you. Cool. Eddie Gray reading the Logic User Guide. Let's go ahead and wrap up here. I want to finish why we came in the first place, right? Man, I really was trying to get to the MIDI transform. I don't know if we'll get there today. There's so much to cover, but let's keep going here. So I'm going to take out RX. Hold on. Very cool. Okay. So external sample editor here. I'm going to write myself a note that I'm going to make a video on the RX8 workflow. I got you covered. All right, cool. So yeah, you kind of saw more or less what happened. And then basically once you make your edits, you save the file in the external sample editor, and then you switch back to Logic. The edit audio is updated in the browser and main window. So it's crazy. The actual file is edited. So yeah, if you need to rectify audio issues, I don't know if I would do it in the audio file editor. But of course, if that's the editor that you have, then work with it until you dominate. So then now we're here. Should we cover MIDI transform? I'll tell you what, I'm gonna look at everything. I want to make sure that if we're gonna do it, we're gonna go ham and really cover in full detail the situation here. I want to make sure that that we're in a position to do this. This thing looks like such a beast. Yeah, no. I think we're gonna have to wait till tomorrow because man, they are going heavy on the details. So yeah, we're gonna cover this tomorrow, and then guess what? We start talking about mixing and mastering in Logic. So hey, I wanted to thank you very much. The next time I catch you, we'll talk about MIDI transform extensively. As you can see, so many details here. I'm gonna go ahead and bookmark this to make sure that we are all on the same page. I wanted to thank you for our time together. We have been doing this for weeks upon weeks upon weeks, and it's been absolutely exhilarating. The toughest part of the climb is almost over. After this, it gets really fun when we start talking about mixing. It's all information that's very digestible. Sometimes there's just areas that are a little bit more challenging or harder to understand, and so when you get to those places, I just highly recommend that you take your time. And if you're not ready for it, put it aside. Focus on something else that you can transfer, learn, adapt to. And then when the time is right, you feel stronger, you feel more confident, you feel ready, then you take it on. So the next time I see you, we're going to cover MIDI transform. We're going to do it in a way that's really easy to understand. Who's it for? Specifically, anybody using a lot of MIDI software instruments, and you need a faster and cleaner way of performing your actions. Think crescendos, right? Things like that, with pitch, with volume. If you want to humanize a hi-hat performance, maybe you draw it in using the brush tool, but it sounds too robotic. MIDI transform can literally just humanize it via length, via pitch, via volume, and it's really, really sweet in that regard. So I will catch you tomorrow, thinking afternoon, but we shall see. I don't know, maybe I'll wake up and just want to look at your beautiful face. But we got to get out of here. Much love, much respect. If you like the content, go ahead and check out hfmusicacademy.com. Please sub, please share, and I will catch you tomorrow. Thank you guys. Stay up. Thank you. I'll catch you tomorrow. See you later.